Life Audio.
Hello, welcome to Your Daily Bible Verse, the podcast that examines one verse each day to learn more about God and His will for our lives. I'm your host, Kyle Norman. After the short word from our sponsor, we will dive into today's Bible verse, 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 15.
Hey everybody, I'm Dale.
And I'm Tamara.
We're hosts of the Kainos Project podcast,
where we help you tackle ancient Christian truths in an everyday settings.
To learn more and subscribe, go to lifeaudio.com.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Granger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Living David's story. But David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 15. Story of David's battle with Goliath is one of the epic tales of Scripture. We know it well. David defeats Goliath and emerges as one of the heroes of the Bible. From that moment on, we read a lot about David. He's described as the person after God's own heart, a mighty king, a valiant warrior, and inspired poet. In fact, so important is David to God's work in the world that the Bible mentions him close to 1,000 times. But this isn't the full story. When we first meet David, he isn't the strong and mighty warrior. He is but the youngest child of a humble shepherd. His brothers, handsome and mighty, tower over him. They are the ones in whom greatness lies. In fact, in these first stories, David is often overlooked. He is the smallest of the family and often left to the side. Case in point, when the prophet Samuel comes to anoint the future king of Israel, David isn't even invited to the gathering. He's left in the fields to tend the flocks. This happens again when the Philistines attack Israel, while others go forward to battle to do great things for their families, their nation, and their God. David is left behind with the animals. I wonder if David ever felt dismissed or disregarded. There can be so much emphasis placed upon us to make a name for ourselves, to achieve our 15 minutes of fame, or to cast an enduring legacy. With so much emphasis placed on achieving recognition or popularity, it can sting when we feel left out. Was this David's experience? Is this our experience? Do you ever feel like David, stuck in the backcountry fields? Do you ever feel ignored, forgotten, insignificant? I know I do. In a world that glamorizes the rich, the powerful, and the successful, I often view myself as less than others. My imperfections, they stare at me. Other people make the life of faith seem easy, so effortless, so uncomplicated. But I, on the other hand, often struggle. I struggle in my prayers. And sometimes I have questions about my faith. At times, God feels distant. And if I am being honest, there are times where I feel alone and cast aside. There are times when I question whether God could possibly use someone as small as me. But this isn't the full story. It's not David's full story, and nor is it ours. The description of David's life amid the animals is easy to dismiss. We tend to skip over it in favor of places where the action lies. But it is here, in the silent fields where God does God's most important work. This unseen place where David stands alone is where God prepares David for what he will face. Although David may feel forgotten or ignored, God's hand moved upon him and within him. In fact, it is only because David tended the animals that he was able to defeat Goliath. David says to Saul, when a lion or bear came and carried off the sheep of the flock, I went after it, I struck it, and I rescued the sheep from its mouth. And this Philistine will be like that. Make no mistake, David's defeat over Goliath does not occur on the battlefield. The victory is won here, in the place of quiet preparation, where God moves unseen. It is in these fields that David is prepared to overcome the gigantic obstacle that he will face. There is never a moment where God is not at work in our lives. The Lord never goes on vacation. The Lord never takes a leave. And as David himself affirms in Psalm 121, the Lord who watches over us never slumbers or sleeps. To realize this biblical fact is to realize that much of the Lord's work in our lives goes on behind the scenes, in the regular spaces of the day. As we go about our lives, whether it be in the fields or in the classrooms or in the workspaces, we do so in the presence of God. And what is more, interwoven into each of our lives is the silent working of God's hand. So instead of looking for the mighty act of God in miracles and majesties, how might we enter the normal places of our lives with the daring belief that God is preparing us for something? Where might God be working in you right now? Perhaps David is the man after God's own heart, not because he was a mighty king or valiant warrior, but because he allowed the Lord to work in the unseen places of his life. Perhaps it is this vision of David that we are called to embrace and called to live out. After all, we all face struggles and obstacles. Some may seem small and inconsequential, others may appear like giants before us. The temptation is to feel that we lack the sufficient power and strength to combat all that we face. But this is not true, because God is with us. God never abandons us nor forgets us. God does not judge us insignificant to God's plan. In the quiet spaces of our lives, even if we feel forgotten or pushed to the side, God equips us to take part in the working of his kingdom.
Your Daily Bible Verse is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review this podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.
The best time to get a great deal on a Jeep 4xe SUV is now during the Summer of Jeep event. Well-qualified lessees get an ultra-low mileage lease on the 2024 Jeep Wrangler Willys 4xe for $369 a month for 36 months with $4,509 due at signing. Tax, title, license extra. No security deposit required. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires dealer contribution at least through Stellantis Financial. Extra charge for miles over 22,500. Includes $7,500 EV cap cost reduction. Not all customers will qualify. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 7/31. Jeep is a registered trademark.